Jordan Ellis here for talkSPORT MMA. Today I'm delighted to be joined by renowned MMA coach Nicksick. How's it going, mate?
Good, Jordan. Thanks for having me on, man.
Brilliant. Well, first things first, I just want to say congratulations because you have just launched a new podcast, Versus Us. Tell me a little bit about that and how it got going.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun actually. It's my good friend Randy Fahrench. We're guys, we've known each other for a long time, and he's been on the road with me a bunch. We've worked together a bunch, so kind of fit the mold of what I was looking for as far as like maybe a co-host goes. And we have all these cool stories and a lot of fun that we've had being on the road and experiences with these fighters that we felt like, hey, we have a good platform. Let's bring some of these stories to light and start a podcast and bring these great guests on.
Yeah, and talk to me about the vision for it. You obviously have a bunch of fighters who will happily come and sit down for a chat whenever you want. Is that the plan? Is it a sports podcast where you're just going to tell these stories I'm sure you've accumulated over the years?
Yeah, I think a little bit of that, but a lot of these relationships that we gained over the years, and even like good friends with Joe Mazzulla from the Boston Celtics, Flex Lewis, the Olympian bodybuilder, just people within my network that have always been inspirational to me and to the team, and good friends of the team and allies. That their stories are important and also incredible outside of the MMA space. So I just think using my network, but also putting the people on there that I feel like that we need to share their story or, just some of their ideas and thoughts and ideologies and being successful and being great in what they do. So that's kind of what was the idea behind it.
Yeah. And when you get started with something like this, is always, you've got that dream guest. Anyone stick out to you right now as you think, what, we've really cracked it if we managed to get this guy on the podcast to sit down and have a chat?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, who would it be? I mean, for me, it's not going to be a hard get, but definitely Randy, just because of I think him being my mentor and a guy that has been so influential on my career. So definitely Randy Couture, just as far as like a nostalgic thing, just to get him on and be able to chat it up and kind of tell the origin story of the gym and how we all got started and stuff. So definitely Randy.
Brilliant. And I've obviously got to move on to UFC 303. It's been a little while. You've had some time to like decompress and enjoy some time with the family. Looking back on it now, that was wild just from an outside perspective. I can't even believe what it was like for you.
Yeah, no, it was nuts, man. Because I wasn't even expecting to have anybody on the card, and then Roman Dolidze hits, or actually Anthony Smith hits me up the week before, and said, "Hey, I'm fighting Roman," and I was like, "My Roman?" He's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh, that's news to me. I didn't even know." So that's how I found out Roman and Anthony were fighting because Anthony Smith called me. So we were prepping for that. I had shoulder surgery that Monday. So my head wasn't even really in the fight game at all. It was more like recovery. And, I had a kid fighting, Kai Kamaka was fighting in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So we were all over the place. And then all of a sudden I land and, I'm getting ready to go corner Roman Dolidze on short notice. And then we get the call that Danny Ige is going to be filling in for Brian Ortega. So, yeah, it was wild, man. But it was definitely a lot of fun, I think, just because – the team really rallied around each other. We had coaches watching film. We had, fighters. Kai Kamaka had fought the day before, just landed, dropped his bags off, and then met us to come help corner. And then Sean Strickland meeting us down there. So, man, it was pretty epic to see the team rally around one another and around Dan Ige, and bummed we didn't get the win, but it was an exciting fight. And, looking forward to hopefully getting that rematch sometime.
And what is your input in them, these wild decisions when someone like Danny Ige rings and says, you know what, I've been offered this opportunity, it's a few hours notice, do you just say, yeah, we're down, or do you say, oh, you try and be the voice of reason, maybe this isn't the correct thing to do? What do you do when these things pop up?
I mean, in that particular instance, I don't think there was really any yes or no. It was, we're doing this, and are you coming with me? Or I don't even think it was a question, to be honest with you. I mean, that's my guy. If he says we're going, we're going. And whether it's a successful journey or not, I'm going to have my guys back one way or another. So we always say to hell and back, and I'll lead the way. So I was excited for him, man. It was a life-changing opportunity for him, and I think that if anybody is going to be catapulted in that legendary status, it was going to be Danny Ige because of his actions.
Yeah, and it really does. They say there's no actual loser in a fight, but I feel like this was one of them fights where there actually was no loser because Dan put on such a brilliant performance. And at the end, despite the short notice, it was Diego who looked gas. It looked like if that was 5 rounds, Dan might have, actually got the job done. So, what does that make you feel like? That's a testament to the work you guys are doing at gym, surely.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that is absolutely spot on. It's a testament to these guys and their cardio and how hard they work. We run really, really hard practices here. Yesterday it was 120 degrees out. Obviously we had the air run in, but it was a hard practice, and these guys push one another, their teammates through and through, and you see that in their fights. Roman Dolidze, he looked, better cardio than Anthony Smith, who was in camp. Roman just came off the plane. Danny Ige, Chris Curtis, when he fought Brendan Allen, Brendan Allen's flopping around on the ground, and Chris Curtis fought this fight on 5 days notice, 6 days notice, whatever it was. Sean Strickland, when he fought Eminov, 4 days notice. You see these guys, and when they get in these short notice fights, they're able to push that cardio and push that pace. And, I'm very proud of the way that we train and the way it's executed in the fights.
Yeah, and straight after Dan called for the Sevilla, it seems like Dana was up for that. Is the talks already moving forward in terms of that's what it looks like it's going to be next for him?
No talks yet, but hopefully that's true. I think that after you do a solid like that, the UFC is always pretty good at getting you back and taking care of you on that. So that'll be up to Dana and Hunter, and I'm sure that him and Sean Shelby matchmaking something. They'll come up with something good for Dan, especially just Dan's a fan favorite fighter anyway. Even before that short notice, that was something that we had in mind at fighting July 20th. We were supposed to be on that card, and then hopefully fight again in September. So now, it gives him that opportunity, and hopefully he gets somebody on that card, and it's going to be an epic card. So a lot of guys want to be on it for sure.
Yeah, and I've got to talk to you about Sean Strickland because he was there at UFC 303. It seems like if there's a fight going on, he wants to be there. But at the minute, he's saying, I'm going to sit out. But it just doesn't seem in keeping with his personality to sit on the sideline. So I'd imagine, is he still in the gym training the way as he does?
Oh yeah, no, he's in the gym full time. Yeah, he actually wrecked his bike earlier this week. I think like Sunday night or Monday morning. It's like has road rash all over his arm, and I was like, bro, you don't have to practice today. He's like, no, I got to practice. This is my favorite practice. So he practiced yesterday with road rash all over him from wrecking his motorcycle. So you got to basically lock the guy out of the gym because he's going to be training.
What is it like managing someone like him? Because I think it was just before the last fight I seen him posting on Instagram. He's having a firework fight with people. It's just from an outside perspective, it just must it's wild for me, but for you, it just must drive you crazy.
Yeah, it does. There's no managing. There is no managing. There is like, hey man, maybe we shouldn't do this or maybe we shouldn't do that, and you hope that he listens. But for the most part, it's just managing a bunch of outlaws and renegades in this gym. That's for sure. I'm the warden.
Well, I imagine, being in Las Vegas, it is Sin City, you must get all kinds of characters coming in through the gym. I know Sean Strickland's the most prominent, but is that just kind of the theme you get in that gym? You just get the wild guys coming in?
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's such a transient city, and people traveling to come to the PI, and people getting into the UFC, or people coming in to want to just train, rub elbows with a lot of the pro fighters. I probably should be a little bit more closed door, but we've never historically been that way. We've allowed guests in the gym and people to come train. So I think that's when you see a lot of the green light sessions where pro guys end up beating up some guys pretty good. You'll see that here, but that's just part of our culture here at Xtreme Couture. It's something that we all take pride in.
But Sean's got this, he has got that image of being, the wild man of MMA. But, I feel like on fight nights, he seems to be laser focused. He seems to be a tactical fighter. I can see it, like literally his mind ticking, and he's thinking about everything he's doing in there. So do you think there is some misconceptions about Sean, as a fighter and how technically good he is?
Oh, 100%. I think defensively too, because defensive reads, he's so good at understanding how to set things up off of his defense. The way he counters off of his defensive movement, that to me makes him one of the better guys. And also, like, I think it shows how good Alex Pereira is. Because for him to be able to sit Sean down like the way that he did is very difficult. Sean's very good at getting his defensive reads. So I think as time has gone on, we've seen how good Alex Pereira is, and we also understand how good Sean Strickland is. So that win is to me even looked better for Alex Pereira over the years. So, but as far as Sean goes, man, like sometimes in the fights you want to see him do a little bit more because that's where I think we lose some of these close split decisions. So leaning a little bit more heavier on even some of our wrestling, I think would definitely help.
Yeah, and from a culture perspective, I'd love to ask you this question just because Alex Pereira took that fight on short notice, and we know you're fine with that. But he took it with, I think he had a broken toe or something along them lines. Conor McGregor pulled out with the same injury. So when these injuries pop up, and they sure do most camps, what is your advice to the fighters?
Honestly, it's one of those things where you have to sit down and measure out the pain tolerance and what is it affecting. A guy like Conor, who's a big kicker, and does well with his kicks. I think that's something that's going to limit him in the training. I was remember when he broke his last fight, when he broke his leg. That was something we talked about as far as our analysis goes prior, that he needed to kick more. And unfortunately he probably was kicking a lot on a pre-injured leg and then ultimately ended up breaking it, so he knows his body better than anybody. I don't think he's a guy that, you can say he's, a wuss or anything like that, man. These injuries happen. They're unfortunate. It's a part of the sport, but I don't think we can ever gauge how hard that injury or how hurt somebody is when we're sitting on the sidelines and not in the fight,
Especially after 3 years out with a catastrophic leg injury as well. You must just be thinking, I can't take that risk again.
What's an extra couple months? If that's the case, then he's been out for so freaking long. You might as well just take another couple extra months and be healthy when you get back.
Absolutely. And silly question, but how is Francis Ngannou doing right now? Obviously, it's very sad news. My heart goes out to him. How's he doing?
He's doing better. I think the best word I can say is that he's healing. He's here training. He's doing all the practices right now. But I think, that you can feel the heaviness on him at times. But being in the gym and being in the room with the team, I think it's definitely helped him. I think it's definitely helped his, just the healing process that he's going through is just being around the boys and getting in the room and keeping busy. I think that's the most important thing. So, but that's the best I can say, man. It's just been heavy for him and everyone else, myself included and everyone around him. I don't think any parent should ever have to go through what he went through, man. It's rough.
Of course, and you mentioned that I feel like it must just be a release for him to be around the boys and blow off some steam. But in terms of the training, is he training with intent? Is he training as I've got a fight coming up, or is it just to stay busy kind of thing?
Well, if he's in the room, he's training as if there's a world title coming up. So he doesn't train lightly. It's just nice seeing him back in the room with the boys. And Sergey Spivak's got a fight coming up, so he's helping him get ready. Carl Williams has a fight coming up. So these heavyweight guys, when you get heavyweights in the room, it's actually such a nice feeling to have because, they're rare. They're rare when you get 4 or 5 heavyweights together, So I'll watch, I'm friends with Aspinall, so I'll watch Tom and his training and almost admire just how many big guys he has in the room. They've done a good job with the heavyweights over there. So when you get heavyweights in the gym, man, these guys have no choice but to go hard.
Yeah, I actually have pretty close to Aspinall's gym, and I've been in there a few times, and I'm 5'10", and I feel like the smallest guy in the room. I am the smallest guy in the room every time I go in there, and we will get on to Aspinall in a minute. I just want to stay on Francis just for one more second. Dana White has kind of poo-pooed the cross-promotion stuff. He seemed to have always shied away from it, and everyone wants that John Jones fight. But most recently, he's kind of open. He's kind of been open to it. He said with Saudi Arabia involved, it could happen. Do you think that's a possibility?
I think anything's possible with Saudi Arabia involved. It's money, and money talks. So if that's something that's going to happen, I think it's with Saudi and Turkey Al Sheikh. I think these guys could get something done if that's the case. But I'm not waiting for anything at all when it comes to that kind of stuff. Nothing surprises me anymore, one way or another. So, but if it happens, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Dana's a smart businessman. If he thinks if it makes sense for them business wise, I think it's something he would do.
Yeah, I think either way, Francis is in a good position because he is in favour of them. He went up and gave Tyson such a great fight, and it obviously didn't work out Joshua, but still just having the Conies to go in there and do that is exceptional. So just talking about Tom Aspinall, you have spent a bit of time with him. I think he did hit some pads or spend some time in the gym. What was that like? What did you make of him?
Oh man, he was just as advertised as an athlete, but I think moreover just the human being that he is, man. Like you see these guys on TV and you see their athleticism and how well they fight, but that's one thing. But then when you get to meet the individual and actually have a conversation with them and then see how great of a human being they are, that even raises your level of enthusiasm when you get to know somebody. So him and his brother came in and they were just a joy to work with. We had a blast, and then we became pretty good friends. So we stay up on WhatsApp together. We talk about camp, talking about whatever it may be. So I'm a Tom Aspinall fan. I'm super excited to see him fight. I'll be out there in Manchester with Manel, so I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Brilliant. And just how good is Tom? Because us in the UK, obviously, we are super hyped on him. We think he's the best heavyweight in MMA right now. But Jones has the belt. Miocic could potentially take it from him. And then you also got Ngannou, hopefully going into PFL soon. So just how good is Tom Aspinall in terms of if you're ranking him from the best heavyweight to somewhere in the top 5?
He's in that top 3, 100%. He's in that top 3, and I think he's just scratching the surface with his potential and the athleticism that he has from the feet to the floor. What he's able to do, I think, is all of it is very high level. The thing that I noticed the most about him was his feet, how well he moves side to side, his lateral movement, his speed. We talked about some ideas and concepts when we were hitting pads, and honest to God, like he hits pads like some of my 145ers. He understands the angles and he understands how to hit and not be there. He doesn't want to have a coin flip when you're fighting in the heavyweight division with 4-ounce gloves. You make a wrong move and you get cracked, and that could be the end of the night for you. So just understanding his ideologies as a heavyweight fighter, but having the athleticism to back it up, to me is that new breed of MMA, especially from the heavyweight division. So he's as advertised.
And talk to me about Leon Edwards. I'm not sure you've spent any time with him, but he's fighting Bilal Muhammad. Sorry about that. So he's fighting Bilal. It seems like Bilal in the UK especially, I feel like he's being written off a little bit, but he's on about a 9-fight win streak. He's a very impressive fighter. What do you make of that fight?
Yeah, I think it's a very good fight. And I agree with you. I think Bilal gets overlooked a lot, but he does such a good job of using the right tool for the job to win a fight. He can out wrestle you. He can outstrike you. He can do anything to find a way to adapt and overcome to be good to win that fight. And then when you look at Leon, this guy has just progressed into this. I mean, obviously world champion, but what you've seen out of him in the 2 Usman fights, and the Colby Covington fight was kind of lackluster. You would love to see Leon almost put his lights out, but he had to do the job. Like I get it now when you have a championship pay-per-view draw. It's like almost just like you just want to win and hold on to the crown, so you keep making those pay-per-view points, So it's one of those fights, man. I definitely think you go either way. You have to lean towards the champion in that, but you can't overlook Bilal Muhammad because he does have multiple ways to win this fight. I think the one thing that people don't really understand about Bilal is he's his fight IQ, man. This guy's very, very smart, understands what he's doing in the game, has great coaches around him. So I think it's a lot closer fight than people are giving it.
And also, I think people are drawing on that first fight, which had just went over a round, and it's been so many years and so many fights since. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they've both evolved.
100%. Both guys have gotten better. And
an interesting subplot is the fact that it's going to take place at about 5-6 a.m. in the morning. Like from a coach's perspective, how would you prepare for something like that?
It's rough, man. It is what it is. We got to Saudi Arabia and we have those fights, and hey, be ready at this time, and you never know, and then it runs later, and then so it's just that old adage is like somebody breaks into your house at 5 a.m. What are you gonna do? You're gonna fight. It is what it is. So there's no great prep. The nice thing about it is you can gauge your warm up and make sure you get a good sweat in, a good hard warm up, maybe even the time that you get to the arena, and then have one more workout so your body's awake and ready to go, man, because it's going to be tough.
It's going to be epic either way. I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for your time, Eric, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
All right, Jordan. Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I'll see you in a couple weeks.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.